Back in September 2015, so almost a year and a half ago, I was rhetorically asking upon seeing another instance of racist bollocks from the progressives. I was rhetorically asking the following.
This is the kind of shit that gives ammunition to the real racists out there. Do you fucking retards even realize what you're doing? You're whipping out genuine racial hatred.
Since then, things have gotten progressively worse. Let's explore. Hello everyone and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Alright, it seems that as time goes on, I could start making videos that consist of montages of my old ones, at least on certain topics, because the left really does insist to prove that I am and was very optimistic in comparison to what they can do. Now that kinda hurts my feelings a little bit because I'm trying to build a reputation here for being dim, extreme, and pessimistic. But no, seriously, the racist left really does know no bounds, and as time goes on it should become clearer and clearer to anyone with two brain cells to rub together that the left must actively be pursued and crushed if there is to be a civilization for our children and grandchildren to inherit, that is. Now, I hate to be melodramatic, but the level of insanity that is now the mainstream left is quite literally civilizationally dangerous. Here is example number 1. Coming from the college fix, students wear white pins to remind them of their white privilege. And goes like this, quote, "Students at Elizabethtown College this month are wearing white pins in the shape of puzzle pieces to remind them of their white privilege." The campaign was launched over the weekend by the Elizabethtown College Democrats, who say it aims to make students at the small and private liberal arts college in Pennsylvania more introspective about issues of race, especially in their predominantly white region of Lancaster County. Discussions about race are often perceived as being only open to people of color, but I think it is just as important for white people to partake in conversations about race, Aileen Ida, president of the College Democrats, told the College Fix via email. Ida said white people are continually allowing for a societal system of oppression to occur unless they work against it. The white puzzle piece pin represents racial struggles of all sorts. No matter how accepting someone is, that doesn't stop them from being part of a system based on centuries of inequality, she said, adding that the campaign transcends politics. Sure it does. Asked if all white students are privileged, Ida responded yes, but clarified that she doesn't think all whites are socioeconomically privileged. Ida declined to cite specific examples of white privilege. Well, of course she did. She also clarified that it's not just white students who can wear the pins, that students of all races should take part to start a campus-wide discussion that crosses racial divides. Yet she notes most people of color already have to live with racism, while white people don't. I believe that this inherent white privilege can be seen in the day-to-day life of people of color versus the day-to-day life of white people, Ida said. Most people of color don't have a choice but to consider how their race affects their life on a daily basis. This is not true for most white people. Alright, this story is even funnier if we look at the video. Aileen Ida of the College Democrats looks exactly how you would expect and speaks exactly as you would expect. Let's take a look.
I think that's a misconception, and this idea that we are in a post-racial world when, if you ask a person of color, they will almost 100% of the time tell you that there is, they've lived it and they know there is struggles that they have that white people don't.
That's the message Aileen Ida is trying to send to the entire Elizabethtown College community. She hopes to start a conversation about race and identity by asking students and professors to wear this tiny symbol.
Because we want to get the whole campus speaking about it.
Presumably, she doesn't want the conversation about race and identity that concerns with the fact that 3.5 to 4% of the US population, i.e. the young black men, make up 40% of assaults against police officers. I'm also quite convinced that she's also not interested in other facts, such as the overrepresentation of Asians working in American tech companies either. Anyway, let's watch a bit more.
She says it's time to discuss what it means to have white privilege.
The people of color every day have to wake up and think about race. They have to think about how it affects their life, what they have to do for it to not negatively affect their life. And as a white person, we don't usually have to think about that.
The conversation is being started by the college Democrats. They are already receiving some negative backlash about their project. But the students we spoke with today say it's about time someone starts talking about the issue.
Elizabethtown is a majority white campus, and so I think that white privilege is a great place to start.
Just look at this guy. He's the walking dictionary definition of cucked as fuck. But on a more serious note, how much do you have to hate non-whites to say that non-whites have to think about race every day they wake up? You know who does that? Racists do. Racists, and only racists, think about race every day after they wake up. Most of everyone else wouldn't think about race more than maybe 50 times in a lifetime if they were left alone. I'm not joking. There are very few instances when a normal person thinks about race. It's usually when choosing persons to have sex with, when choosing the neighborhood one is moving into, when selecting donor organs, but that's very rare, and that's pretty much it. By and large, normal people don't have too many reasons to think about race in any way, being positively or negatively. That is, provided that the militant racists leave them alone. But the militant racists do not leave people alone, because that would mean an end to their careers as racist agitators, or as they're called now in leftist lingo, community organizers. The racists du jour want you to be ashamed of your original sin of having been born white. Here, listen to it right from the whale's the horse's mouth.
It's not, a specific way to call out white people or to say that it's bad to be white, but just to remind everybody that, we as a campus should be having this discussion.
So it's not about being anti-white, it's just a short reminder that you have an original sin according to the leftist religion called white privilege. I mean, screw you! Back in October 2015, I expressed this mildly better.
It's too bad that YouTube has a rather restrictive policy on nudity, because I'm genuinely tempted to show my white privilege to him and all the others who think like him.
Yep, I still do think so, though to this particular whale, I wouldn't even honor her with showing my white privilege to her. My white privilege has his own standards. I can't just take off my pants and show my white privilege to anyone, come on. But alright, this is a small college, it's not really that important, right? Well, perhaps, but this lunacy has become very widespread and it's getting worse and worse. Let's take example number 2. Black Lives Matter leader says white people are subhuman and suffer from genetic defects. This particular cunt is from Canada. If the headline had read, "Leader says Negroes are subhuman and suffer from genetic defects," everyone would be under a social justice tribunal by now. But because she's black, she can do and say whatever she wants. Everything about the left is totalitarian projection. They call everything systemic/institutional racism because they presume everyone is like them. For if they are to be given power, they absolutely would make everything to be institutionally racist. Again, she admits that quite openly. Let's read, quote, A Black Lives Matter leader has come under fire after arguing on social media that white people are subhuman and suffer from recessive genetic defects and musing about how the race could be wiped out. In a Facebook post, Black Lives Matter Toronto co-founder Yusra Kogali went on a rant arguing that black people are the superior race because white people possess genetic defects that make them lesser humans, according to the Toronto Sun. Whiteness is not humixness. In fact, white skin is subhumixn, she wrote. All phenotypes exist within the black family and white people are a genetic defect of blackness, close quote. She continued explaining her theory, claiming white people are lesser because they have a, quote, higher concentration of enzyme inhibitors that suppress melanin production. They are genetically deficient because melanin is present at the inception of life. Melanin enables black skin to capture light and hold it in its memory mode, which reveals that blackness converts light into knowledge. Melanin directly communicates with cosmic energy, she added. I mean, this is literally we was Kongs. Well, technically it's we was Kongs combined with some pseudo-scientific gobbledygook that makes Alex Jones sound extremely rational by comparison. Anyway, let's read some more. Kogali then proclaimed white people are recessive genetic defects. This is factual. The Black Lives Matter leader then wondered how the white race could be wiped out. According to her, black people simply through their dominant genes can literally wipe out the white race if we had the power to. Do you ever wonder how black people, after centuries of colonial violence, genocide and destruction, no matter what systems created to make us extinct, how we keep coming back? It is because we are superhumixness, she added. This isn't the first time the firebrand BLM Toronto chapter co-founder got into hot water. Last week, Heat Street reported about Kogali's speech during a protest in Toronto where she accused Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of being a white supremacist terrorist. Oh yeah, we have a video of that. Let's watch.
The indentured slavery of racialized people in which the state is founded on. When Justin Trudeau says that, he is a liar. He is a hypocrite. He is a white supremacist terrorist. That is what he
is. Well, I'll tell you what. How about we deport Kogali to the far north of Canada and cut back her supply of vitamin D? That is, no milk, because milk is a symbol of white supremacy, as another regressive outlet now seems to believe. Yes, I know it was a 4chan meme, but it wasn't 4chan who forced them to take the bait and run with it, wasn't it? Now, on a more serious note, if this madness isn't swiftly curbed, things won't be pretty. I sincerely don't believe it will come to a civil war or a race war, but it doesn't have to be a war per se for things to degenerate and get really, really bad. For what is worth, a race war would essentially be a bloodbath, and everyone knows it. That's why there won't be a race war. But as I was saying, it doesn't have to be a war for things to be bad. Many people seem to forget that there is such thing as the martial law. Canada had this in 1970 during the October Crisis. The state of Alabama had martial law as late as 1961. Most people alive today probably don't remember it, but regressive millennials should seek out old people and ask them. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're willing to stir up such high levels of hatred, at least be aware of what may come up next. And the more these progressive racists are allowed not just to ramp up the rhetoric, I mean rhetoric is fine no matter how disgusting, but to ramp up the violence, the more they make these scenarios possible. Black Lives Matter is a terrorist movement. The longer everyone waits instead of calling it as such, the more likely it is to assist to very unsavory scenarios. And don't think this is just a North American problem. There are cancerous cells in Europe too. There is a BLM chapter in Finland. I mean, Finland, for crying out loud. There are also chapters in the United Kingdom, France, the Netherlands, and Spain, and these are the ones that I know of. There are probably more than those. Sooner or later, this form of fascistic terrorism will have to be confronted. And confronted will it be, either in a civilized manner by arresting the top troublemakers and banning the terrorist movement, or in a less civilized manner. Now, I would prefer, and I dare to argue that most people would prefer, the first method rather than the latter. Just think about it. That's all I had to say. Thanks for watching.